You are sitting around the fire, the four, in the ruined city of Osgiliath. One of the buildings here is mostly destroyed, but the way that the rubble has fallen has left you a bit of shelter that you can like huddle in, and you're sitting around this fire. Um, there's uh, this is your fourth night on rotation here. And for some of you, it's your first time in Osgiliath, and for others, you're veterans and you've been here many times. And all over this side of the river, there are little groups of warriors like you who are trying to make sure that the hated orc does not set foot in Gondor. You haven't seen orcs so far on this rotation. You've seen orcs before, and there's this sense of never really being able to relax or sleep. You catch sleep where you can, but everywhere there's rubble and smoke and dust, and there's not enough supplies to go around, and so you're scrounging a lot of the time. It's probably near midnight at this stage as you sit around this little fire in the shelter that you found. Will one of you make me a perception check, please?
$16. That's just on the die.
Which of them are you?
Well, I think he'll just dibbed Belector, so I'll be Argaleb.
Okay. As you're sitting around this fire, munching on this bit of not quite moldy, but definitely stale bread, you can hear this little slush of water. You're quite close to the water. You are on the waterfront. This would have been part of the docks once when the city was bustling, and now it's just rubble in every direction from the years, decades that Osgiliath has been a war ground. And you can hear this little slushing of water, and then this deep breathing of something that you think is not a man.
Yeah, Argaleb as just freezes, hearing this sound of the crackle of the campfire, and he leans in to Belector and he says, "The men have been jumping, shadows moving quickly on the other side of the river, but now I fear I hear something closer."
Yeah, Belector spits out a bit of moldy bread, plucks it from his teeth, and stops and listens. You've been here too long, Argaleb.
And will likely die here.
Aye. But not this night.
There's a something connects with something, and then you can hear steps. And a moment later, an orc leaps over the top of the shelter and lands among you. And there is roaring and shouting, and we'll roll initiative.
Gondor!
Ah!
$16 is the magic number today.
$19.
So your first, Gilrain, you can see just barely in the darkness this shape with long arms, longer than the legs, and a blade held in each hand, and this grin of satisfaction at finding prey as this orc slithers out of the darkness. You can hear other steps behind it, and you can just make out in the darkness that there are several more.
Garain rushes to the others, raises his shield and unsheathes his sword and readies an attack for when it closes. But he makes sure that they form a line. A line! A line! There may be more.
You can hear the as some arrows fire into your midst. Oof. So one of them's a crit, which is going to be Berektor. It's going to be 11 damage from that as it fires through the darkness and connects with you right in the meat of the shoulder and spins you around under the ground. The other two arrows whiz over your heads. Argleb.
Yeah, following the call, Argleb does form into the line, but in meeting these vile beasts, he's simply going to raise his axe and attempt to swing. But the chaos, the darkness, everything is too much. He swings wide. He only rolls a 2 on the die, so unfortunately his attack is not effective.
You have 2.
So I do. Which also misses, the panic gripping his heart, unfortunately, as no attacks yield results.
Maybe Argleb thought he would get away with not seeing orcs this time, but no such luck. 2 bigger orcs with heavy armor on their shoulders and these masks over their faces are going to rush forward towards you. Gilrain, so you can make your attack.
Okay. Could somebody else roll for me a minute? I'm having trouble. Oh no, I can do it. I get a 16, and that's the best I get.
16's a hit.
And what's the damage? I can't open up.
If you got an axe, you're looking at 2d6 plus 4. If you're going with the spear, you're a d8 plus 4.
Yeah, the axe is 2-handed, so it can't. I think if you have a shield, it can't be that.
Yeah, I get a 7.
Okay,
damage.
Nice. You plunge the spear into the gut of the orc, and it looks down at it, and then back up at you with this. Berektor. Oh, they didn't go. Sorry. They just arrived and got hit, and they didn't take their turn. So the first mauler is going to look down at the spear and grab it, and then it's going to bring its weapon overhead and try and strike you. Go around for a 19 on the die, which will certainly hit. That'll be 8 points of damage. The other one is going to strike at you, Argleb, since you're standing next. But it misses, and it misses. Both strikes, you and it, with big weapons swinging at each other but unable to connect. Then it's Berektor.
Yeah, Berektor immediately leapt into roaring action when the first orc leapt out, dropping his moldy bread on the ground, and didn't have time to grab his shield. Just picked up his spear and immediately thrusted it a couple of times at the orc that charged out, copping an arrow along the way. but then pushing on instantly. Gondor! The 21 and a 23 to hit.
2 hits.
For a total of 20 damage.
Nice. One of the big boys in front?
Yes.
All right, so with those 2 strikes and the strike from Gilrain, you're able to take down that mauler, that big orc. He's got a spear in his gut, and you're able to hack him down. And he groans and onto the ground. And then there is a noise behind you. This little goblin-shaped orc, much smaller than the others, all dressed in black, and his skin painted with some sort of soot, rises from the shadow like some foul mist, and he's going to try and strike at you. A 17
will not hit.
All right, you can feel the bite of the blade, like at your kidney, but your armor pushes it aside. It's unable to get through. Similarly, though, at the back of this encounter, before you have stood up to join the others, everyone, there is a lurker, little creep, who has appeared beside you. 19.
Yeah, that'll do it.
$14 damage. So as you're looking in the direction of the big orcs, you can feel a hand on your shoulder, and then another one just plunges a knife down into your opposite shoulder, and grapples you there. And it's your turn.
Ivorban will reach to the axe at her side and try and drive it through the skull of this creature in front of her. One attack will miss, but the other's going to hit with a 15 on the die.
Yep.
I need d6s for that. So that's going to be 12 damage against him.
Oh, nice. Will you roll me a d10?
Yes, I will. 5.
Okay, he's stunned. You strike out with such force that he sort of just stumbles back and is unable to move. And then this larger orc enters. He has this bizarre facial damage. His lips have been removed, and he has this grim smile upon his face. He seems to rejoice in it. There are various parts of him that are pierced, and pieces of metal hang from all over him. And he chuckles as he enters, and rumbles something in black speech, and then will approach with this large blade dragging on the stone behind him, making sparks, and he will strike at you, Argaleb. He misses one and he crits you once.
So Argaleb will use the shield to absorb that strike.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, sorry, no, he's using a two-handed axe, isn't he? I've already elected to use the axe,
right.
So I don't have the shield, so I don't absorb the crit.
That's correct. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty bad damage. 12 damage. This big sword moves with surprising speed. He's dragging it behind him, and then just suddenly it's up in the air, and then stabs into you. Gilrain.
Gilrain is still concentrating on the one in front of him, shouting, "Gondor!" He strikes him with his spear for another 6 points of damage.
Nice. The archers are going to fire at you, Gilrain. But they will miss twice. Oh, there's 3 of them. That one will also miss. So 3 arrows whiz past you. One of them goes right past you as well, everyone. But nothing connects. They bounce off the stonework. Argaleb.
Do they sound like they're coming from different places at the arrows?
No, they're definitely right behind the maulers.
3 individual archers,
yes.
or right? That's what I was trying to assess.
Mm-hmm.
So Argaleb is reeling from the strike he took from this brutish or captain who's dragging this sparking blade, and He takes in a deep breath to gather his resolve before charging forth, striking for a 19 and a 24.
Yes, sir. Both hits.
So that's 8 points of damage for the first one, and 9 for the second as Argaleb rallies and strikes back at this black-speaking creature.
Yeah, 2 brutal strikes. He even stumbles back a little bit, but then looks down at the wounds and grins and rubs his hand into it and tastes his blood and seems to enjoy it. The mauler remaining one is going to swing his 2-handed cleaver at you, Gilrain, for 1 hit. 6 damage.
Okay.
Pretty underwhelming. A glancing strike to the edge of your shield that just cuts into your arm, but nothing too serious.
Yeah, he's bleeding though. He's bloodied.
Belector.
Yeah, I think Belector kicks off the orc that he just dispatched off of his spear, and just turned to see this other orc rising and covered in soot, barely make them out, and then this huge one dragging this sword enters as well, and I think he would turn and engage the big one, Arak, the Smiler, and with his spear he does have 5 foot of reach, so I think he'd be able to keep that lurker at bay and turn to do a couple of well-practiced thrusts at Arak and a pre-roll. They'll get a 10 and a 22 to hit.
22 hits.
So that's just 6 damage with the spear.
All right.
And he glances over down to his shield next to where he was, next to the campfire there, longingly before he turns back.
The lurker by you, everyone simply stands stunned and is reaching now desperately for the knife that dropped. The other one behind you, though, Belector is going to try and strike at the back of you. For a miss. Again, your armor keeps it at bay. Everyone.
Yeah, thank you. You just answered my question. Ivorwin will reach for the horn that they each carry that would sound some alarm and let the other patrols know that there is an incursion. And I presume that will take my entire action.
I'll say it's an interaction, so you can do something.
Okay.
Yeah, so you blow the horn, and as you do it, you can hear another one. And then up this direction. It's not just here.
No. So then everyone will try and attack the stunned creature. Do I get advantage on
Yes.
them? Excellent. It does not help me for my first attack with a 2 and a 7. But the next one will hit with a 19, I assume.
Yes.
And that's going to be 14 damage.
Gonna take him out. Okay. The Smiler cackles and says something in black speech. And then we'll strike at you, Argaleb. And he'll miss. 17 is no good.
Nope.
Okay, so he misses with his strikes. Maybe he is more badly injured than he lets on, and is unable to connect. You can hear now horns up and down the bank from other patrols. It seems that there is more than one boat of orcs coming across this evening. Gilrain.
We're being overrun. Fall back to the doors of the houses of healing, he says. And he using the dodge maneuver, he runs and tries to draw as many attacks of opportunity as he can out of his, not just the foe in front of him, but the ones attacking his companion. He tries to draw an attack of opportunity from all of the attackers as he makes his way back to the gate into the halls of healing and just takes position behind the gate.
That is a true son of Gondor.
So he's taking the dodge maneuver, so
Yes.
they'd all be at disadvantage.
None of them hit you.
Okay.
Of the ones who could.
How many? He was actually moving in, sort of swerving to if
That was the
any of his
Mauler.
allies were beset.
Yes. That was the Mauler, the Lurker, and the Smiler. If you wanted to run past the archers, they could also make
No,
attacks.
he won't. He won't
Okay.
go for the archers.
Yeah.
He'll just try and fall back into a position where the archers will have to move to get a view
Shot,
on him as
yeah.
well. So he's got full cover if possible.
Okay, perfect.
End of his turn.
All right. The archers will try and fire at you as you're running. Their predator instinct. But you'll have cover, so it'll be +5 armor class, I think. Right? Cover.
That's half cover. I mean, that's 3/4 cover.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll say that.
Yep.
So what's your armor class at then? 20 something.
Technically, if I'm still when I take the dodge maneuver, they've still got disadvantage on attacks against me.
That's right. Yep. They don't know that.
Okay, so what is my AC with shield? It's could somebody look it up? I'm having trouble switching between.
So your AC is 18 shields +3.
That includes the shield, the 18.
Oh, the 18.
includes
Okay.
the shield.
Yep. So then you'd be at 23.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a miss. That's a miss. And that's a miss. So they fire 3 arrows in your direction, but they plunk, 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 against the stone wall that you ducked behind at the last moment. And that's the archers. Argaleb.
Argaleb is desperately trying to even the odds against this smiling orc, hoping to at least bring this foul creature down, even though he knows it will only be replaced by 3 more equally disgusting creatures from the pits. But he swings wildly. His first attack misses outlandishly, but then from nowhere is able to pull that into an uppercut, which does 7 points of damage.
Nice. 7.
Also, I realize because I'm going two-handed axe, my AC is significantly lower. It's actually 16.
Okay. That's fine.
So
You-
for
Are
future
you falling
reference.
back to the? Are you staying where you are?
Oh yeah, of course.
You don't need to dodge
yeah,
because he can't opportunity attack you because they all use them on Gilrain. You can just move.
Yeah, he will start falling back as well. Then in that case, falling back with the rest of them.
Okay. Yep. You start to move towards where Gilrain had gone. The remaining Mauler is going to try and finish off Belector with a crit.
Damn.
Rolling on fire today. My God.
Better against these guys than the other ones.
Yes, that's true. 17 damage.
Oof. He yet stands.
My God. So overhead, it strikes into you, maybe knocks you back a few steps. Nonetheless, a devastating strike, and it's your turn.
Yeah, I think it drops him to a knee and is heaving as he clutches the wound, holding the spear out in one hand to try and get some distance again between him and this orc. And he, with hearing the answer of the horns of Gondor, knowing that they're overrun and they must fall back, he does a roll and grabs his father's shield from beside the camp and flees, retreats along with his companions.
Okay. The remaining lurker sees you run and then turns with this grin towards you, Everyone, and will approach and try and strike at you. With an 18 on the die, so that will hit. But it's not sneak attack. 5 damage.
Oh, I'm on 1.
So it's like a strike, maybe into the inner arm or something, and it's bleeding quite heavily, but you are still standing. And it's your turn.
Yeah, everyone will, gasping, use the axe to kind of parry and disengage and seek to follow Bellic Thor and the others.
You do so. The Smiler bellows something in black speech to the others, and they begin to move into the shadows out of your view. As you return or retreat back to the Houses of Healing, you can see other groups doing the same thing, like from different directions, converging on this place, and you start to feel a little more safe. There are more men of Gondor here now, and maybe there's a way that you can stop them. And among them is one of the captains, and his like fine helm can be seen as he like speaks in a clear voice and commands you no steps back further. This is the place where we hold them. We will not abandon Osgiliath. And we will float up from here and away. And you can think that this is happening here in Osgiliath. It's happening in Rohan at Helm's Deep, and it's happening all over Middle-earth. Battles for lives. This is the 3rd hour of this sentence. It has continued unceasingly for 3 hours. It's impossible for non-Onodrim, which are the Ents, to speak Entish. It's like this tonal language that involves endless run-on sentences and repetitive adjectives that like make this constant stream of syllables that never end, and they speak breathing in and out for days or weeks or years. The name of a creature in Entish is its entire history up to the point where the speaker is speaking to it. And so Treebeard has arrived 3 hours ago, and as well as several of the other Ents, and there has been a hello that has been going on for at least 3 hours. And you think it might continue far beyond that.
We do not have time for this, Glindaer says to Anauriel in Ovish.
And you? Can you bring spring sooner in the midst of winter?
He sort of just makes an exasperated noise and paces around. Like, I imagine the Ent that's talking is watching their ancient eyes, just watching this young elf in the scheme of things just pace around before them in this clearing, while and not stopping their talking, as if there's no movement happening at all.
We can see like a sped up version where the Ents are speaking, and you and Anauriel are like flitting around, like when you see a nature documentary and they're filming plants, and you can see animals just like as they like continue to talk. We see you like move to one place and like eat, and then go to sleep, and then like wake up again, and like all of this happens while they're saying hello to Treebeard. Lasts at least a day.
Yeah, I think towards the end of that day, like even Anauriel feels her patience wearing thin. But she gets the sense that for such ancient creatures, Time cannot be hurried, and there's nothing to do but wait. And she brews perhaps the 200th cup of tea and sits. Surely they must be reaching a decision soon.
Yeah, as night falls, Quickbean will turn to you and say, "We have finished greeting Treebeard. We will now greet Leaflock." And he'll turn to one of the other ents who has arrived and begin saying hello to him.
Honored ents, perhaps you might save your greetings for another time and place.
There is no better place to greet each other than here.
But there is a better time than now.
They look between each other, which takes a minute. And then Beachbone, one of the other ents, will look down and say, "Do not be so hasty."
On the contrary, it is you who are hasty to uphold your traditions when there is something more important at stake.
You can see looks of shock among them at the thought that something could be more important than proper greetings after centuries probably that they haven't seen each other. And they will spend another hour discussing what they should do in this circumstance. Should they continue to greet each other even if this is pressing? What I'm going to do is I'm going to get you guys to basically implore the ents as a skill challenge. So every day you can make one argument, because ents require a full day to process an idea. They have to discuss every possible part of it. And so it will be a skill check each, as well as a wisdom saving throw to maintain propriety and politeness in the face of this unbelievable slowness. So the skills that you can use are these.
That's a great idea. We'll see how Glindaer goes with his
Oh my god.
wisdom saves.
Oh my god. Glindaer, you're all fighty too.
And imagine that you are also immortal, you are elves, and so you don't...
Yeah.
If you were a man, you would be losing your mind, for sure.
Oh, God.
All right. I will try and make... Oh, that's going to be a good one. I'm going to try a lore roll.
Okay.
Anauriel will attempt to appeal to the ents' appreciation of nature and such beautiful things, and will recite for them the elvish poem or an excerpt from it. There is a daisy among the Eleanor blossoms. To me it is fair. There is a birch tree under the malern trees. To me it is fair. There is a butterfly above the swan. To me it is fair. A spark star follows Sirius. To me it is fair. The leaves of the malern are numberless. One tiny leaf, one fading leaf, holds my eyes. when will it fall? Great ents, let not more leaves fall while you tarry.
Ents love poems. And will
Does that mean I
begin
get
to
advantage?
recite one.
Oh
In response,
no!
They'll
No.
begin to sing the song of the Entwives, the lost
no.
Entwives. And you'll miss the better part of 3 or 4 hours as Treebeard goes through the poem. But you will have advantage in the roll.
Okay. That advantage didn't help me much. But even so, that's going to be 13.
Okay. Glindaer?
Glindaer will he will use persuasion, try to use persuasion, and choosing his words very carefully, so as not to just burst out with "People are dying, Rohan is burning." Like, he will appeal to the Ents' love of old things and their place in this world, and try to get them to see that they are part of this world despite how apart from it Fangorn seems to be. Speak of the White Wizard and all of the great lords and craftsmen of the realm are all gathered, working together. This one final chance, speak of what to try and prevent. I suppose try and paint that picture of, if they do not help, this is what will happen. Their forest will burn. So let's see. 9.
Okay. At the end of this day, they'll speak for through the night until you're having lunch the next day. And Quickbeam, who has been elected the person who talks to you because he speaks quicker than the others, and you seem to enjoy that more, will say, "We have decided that the things you listed as fair are indeed fair." And they're talking about the poem that you had spoken of, and they had spent a day and a half discussing if those things that you had mentioned that are fair to you are indeed fair, and they have come to the conclusion that they are.
That's amazing.
Oh my god. I think you see like this just almost defeat across Anauriel's face as she realizes that there is almost nothing to be done with hurrying an ent, it seems. Do we keep trying our skill challenge? Have we failed it?
You can keep trying, for sure. You may want to look at more drastic ways to get them to move, though.
Yes.
Because, as you've seen, the slightest miscommunication will cause them to go into, like, hours of discussion about a thing. So if there's some way that you can, like, make them see now that the danger is so real, or, like, bring danger here or something, like, that would maybe make them do something. Because arguments and reasoning is going to take them weeks. Unless you make, like, incredibly persuasive arguments, you know?
Right.
And Radagast has been helping you and has also been speaking to them and urging them to, like, do something, but in his sort of polite, nice, quirky way, and has had no more success than you in trying to convince them. If you want to give me like a shadow lore roll.
Yeah, it's kind of, I was wondering. Let's see. Put this on that. 20 even, non-natural.
Fangorn literally slopes up the hill towards Methadras, which is the mountain underneath which the orcs are. And that's Quick Beam's domain of Fangorn. But also near there is one of Treebeard's favorite houses, Wellspring. So it literally right up to the mountain, like the forest that goes up the side of the mountain, is Fangorn. So potentially there's a way to get orcs into the woods, something like that, that might make them notice it. Also possible. It's also possible, I don't want to give the impression that you can't convince them, because you can. You know, you just roll better. Like
Yeah, I think Anauriel would turn to Glindaer and seeing his impatience, ask what it is he would wish to do.
Perhaps we must show them. Words evoke something within them. Words will spark further discussion and musings. Perhaps showing them that the enemy is at their door, bringing axes and fire. Perhaps they need to see rather than hear. Methadras is not far yonder. Perhaps I can draw forth a thread of the evil that dwells there, dangle it before them.
I will go with you.
I think he would just nod and turn and start running into the woods towards Methadras to try and find and capture an orc to bring back.
You'll both go? Or will you stay and try to convince them?
Yeah, he's a big boy. He can take care of himself. I'll stay.
Okay. So Glindaer, you're running through Fangorn, which is quite a frightening experience actually, because the trees know you, like notice you, and you can feel their watch as you pass. And you can't really stop, because as soon as you do, there are things that like grow over your feet. This place is like amazingly, stunningly alive. But you're an elf. You spend time in Mirkwood, and you know how to move through the woods, and you can do so at significant speed. And you're able to make it to the edge of the forest, and you can see the sort of the slopes and crags of Methadras ahead of you. You know vaguely that there is a entrance to that cavern where you had rescued Beregond on this side of the mountain. Is that sort of where you want to try and find an orc, or are you just going to wander and look?
Yeah, no, it would be to one of the openings in the mountain. Yeah.
Okay. So you're able to move there and get to that area, that little opening in front of the cave as it's coming into evening, and you can sort of like crouch there and await. Do you want to go in, or do you want to wait to see if an orc comes out?
I think he would wait for maybe an hour or two, and he thinks of the patience he must have with the slowness of the ents, and quick beams advice to not be hasty, and he realizes he has all night. So he'd wait a couple of hours, but then if there's none, I think he would venture in.
Yeah, as you wait a couple of hours and night falls, orcs will come out. A troop of 5 will leave. You think probably to hunt either slaves or food, and one or the other. And they'll sort of crawl out into the night. No attempt to be quiet. They're sort of like chatting amongst each other. You don't speak black speech, no?
No.
Then you would hear what sounds to you like dark incantations, but in actuality is like, we got stuck with the bleeding hunting shift again, sort of thing. But it would sound to you like oosh-nah, like crazy dark incantations as they're like moving out of the cave and coming almost directly for you, but unaware of you, it seems.
Yeah, he sneers at the filth, at the dark incantations pouring from their mouths, and I suppose he's holding his. It would be upon his back, the blade of his newly forged sword with the dwarven runes upon its blade, but he would have it in its scabbard, still sheathed, so as not to shed the light that he knows it would be shedding in the presence of these creatures. I think he would just silently position himself and wait for them to move right past him, so that he can then probably try and take out 4 of them and capture one to take back to Fangorn.
Okay. Yep. So will you give me a stealth? You can have advantage because they don't know you're there. That's excellent. To walk up behind them and not get seen, basically.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so dirty 20.
Okay. Yeah, so they're chatting amongst themselves as they walk, which you think is an inefficient way to hunt. As they sort of walk past you and down the slope, they're definitely going into Fangorn. And it would make sense to you. You've seen that it's just abundant with life everywhere. It would be easy to hunt something there, maybe, but making it back out again might not be so easy. As you follow them, you can see that they're sort of being led by like one slightly larger orc at the front, and he's got like this big axe over his shoulder. The others have bows, and he's sort of like wandering, and you can hear the wrath of trees as like he walks with the axe. You can hear this like groaning and strange noises from the trees as they see an axe, which is not welcome in Fangorn. But you can sneak up behind the back orc.
Yeah, and as he sees that they're going into Fangorn, just brandishing axes, and he has a different appreciation for the response that the trees in this forest make in response to that axe. Now having met some of the ents, but as he's moving silently behind them, he wonders whether he could lead all 5 of them to the ents, and I think he opts for that instead. So he probably he knows he can move quicker than them through the forest, and and he wonders whether the forest might take out one or two of them along the way. But at least, even if the forest takes out all of them along the way, he can stop and come back and get one of them to take. So I think that's he'll try and do that. So knowing that they have no idea that he's there, he would move around, sort of to be out in front of them, so to speak. And I think he'd come out with a false charge, or come out and sort of cross blades with them, and then make it as if he's fleeing further into the forest to try and lead them through.
Okay, let's make that 3 checks. I think something to lie to them about your intent of running, so either performance or deception maybe, to give the impression of like haha, and then like the oh no, like that's one thing. And then I think athletics is fine for like the running through the woods, and staying ahead of them but not too far ahead of them. And then that's actually enough. Let's just do those 2.
Okay, great. So I'll do performance first, which is +1. Oh, that's a 10.
Okay.
And then athletics.
They are convinced. They get a 1 on their insight.
Yes.
Someone said orcs were the most perceptive, intuitive.
Yeah, they just shout elf flesh, and are keen to follow.
Got him. And then that is a 15 on athletics.
Okay, so you rush through the forest over the same path that you had taken previously, and you like leap over one of the logs that you know is in the way, and you see one of the orcs like trip and fall behind you, but the other are still chasing, and there are arrows whizzing past you as you are running. The big one is like right behind you. He's like almost keeping pace with you, and seems very keen at the chance to like capture an elf. But they follow, and you're able to, with your speed, keep them close but not too close, and lead them back. And you soon realize that you're quite close to the glade where the ents have met. In the meantime, Anauriel, you have been debating still with them. Do you want to attempt another 2 skills? Or another skill?
Yes, I will attempt one more. I'm gonna go with a maybe like a shadow roll.
I mean, persuasion is there as well, right? You're good at that. Performance, like both of those would make sense.
Okay.
Well, just like because you have a high charisma, right?
I do. Yes. Yeah. I'll try persuasion. Like, and Anauriel is remembering the previous conversation with Quickbeam and how he'd said, those are future things, and she's trying to impress upon him the immediacy of the threat. That Methadros is nearby. There are orcs already under the mountain. That the Sauron's force will be coming, and trying to persuade them that this is something which requires immediate response. Ooh, that's going to be a 19.
Okay. So they listen carefully to every word, and they process every word very carefully. And they're like thinking about it, and they begin speaking in Entish again, and you can sit down and wait to see what the result of that will be. And we'll see when Glindaer comes back what will happen. The Hall of the King of Gondor is echoey, and when the various captains kneel and say "Long live the king," that echoes through the hall for longer than you would have imagined. It has been 25 generations since those words have been spoken in this hall, and all in the hall are kneeling except for Denethor. He has struggled back up to his feet, pulling himself up on his little chair, and he has a look of wild rage upon his face. You will not take it from me. You are some wanderer. You're not even of Gondor. My son, he was of Gondor. He knew hardship in this land, and he bled for it, and he knows of the courage necessary to hold it. You will not take it from me.
The Lord Denethor will be taken to his quarters.
You can see that. You go.
Beregond turns to I've forgotten his name.
Turgon.
Turgal, the captain of the guard, and gestures for him to follow. Gestures for him to move in the direction of Denethor.
Yeah, you can see that he looks quite pleased at the idea. Behind his mask, you can barely see his eyes, but there is a slight shift that suggests that maybe he is smiling. And he will approach Denethor and say, "My lord, if you'll come with me." And Denethor says, "You will not put a hand on me! How dare you!" And he's like spitting now, like when he speaks, and he like lashes out to try and strike at Turgil, but it's.
I'm reading the room just to see if there are many or any who are ready to jump to his aid.
Yeah, so you could see there are maybe 10 captains and commanders here, but the big ones, the important ones that you would know, are the Lord Commander of the Knights of the White Tree, and of the Gondorian army, and of the Guard of here, and of the Rangers. And all of those are on your side. The others are lords and stuff, lordlings who are, in the council, but not necessarily, don't command like the armies. And some of them you reckon have done very well with the stewardship and have like moved for centuries in sort of that direction to be favored by the steward, and so now are faced with a difficult decision. But nonetheless, Aranbeer, who's the Lord Commander of the Knights of the White Tree, will stand from kneeling and will stand at the other side of Denethor and put a hand on his shoulder. "My lord, it is time to go." And when he "You will not touch me!" and he strikes out at him, he will just squeeze his shoulder and put him back down. And they will drag him from the throne room, kicking and screaming. "You perverse! Usurper!" And that too echoes around the hall.
Captains of the Guard of the White Tree, of the forces of Gondor. While I have laid claim to this throne, I shall not take it. I shall not sit a throne nor wear a crown until the darkness of Sauron is utterly vanquished. However, time is against us. We must mobilize as much of the force of Gondor as we can to defend Isengard.
This is a hard decision. Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
This is a hard decision, for it will leave the farms and the lands of Gondor underprotected. Orcs will overrun Gondor as we march our forces round to strike a killing blow, or what we believe may be a killing blow against Sauron. But we need to mobilize all the forces of Gondor to march west and north to Isengard.
Lord Commander Carahir, who is the High Commander of the army, will step forward and incline his head and say, "Your Majesty, We've been holding Osgiliath against the Orcish hordes for 4 months, and the steward has had the main bridges destroyed, except for the central bridge, which is heavily fortified. But the orcs create boats, and they have other means of crossing the Anduin, and they do so nightly. We've been successful in holding them in Osgiliath since the Battle of Pelennor, but it is a huge drain of resources. We have cautioned the steward about this, have begged him to step back from Osgiliath, but he would not.
And in the defense of Gondor, we will look to your wisdom and of your knowledge of the field and of Ithilien and far beyond. How many would you require to secure the walls of Minas Tirith?
It's my understanding that you believe, Majesty, that the Horde will not come here, that they will bypass Minas Tirith and go to Isengard. If there is no direct assault, then we do not need all of our army here. But it requires a lot of faith. Because if they do come here and our army is not here, then this city too will fall as Osgiliath and Minas Ithil have fallen.
Then we shall urge the enemy to action.
The great port of Pelargir is under similar attack from Corsairs, from Umbar, Majesty, says Baranor, who's the captain of the Rangers. And they have mostly managed to stop the Corsairs sailing up the Anduin, and Prince Imrahil and the warriors of Dol Amroth are helping in Pelargir mostly. It's essential to the defense of Gondor, but there are a great many troops there. And Pelargir is a city like at the mouth of the Anduin, at the very south of Gondor.
Order them to retreat. Order the citizens to retreat into the citadel, and hold out there for as long as they can. This will be resolved one way or another. If we cannot defeat Sauron in Isengard, we will not be able to hold Pelargir or Osgiliath or Minas Tirith.
Yeah, you can see Kara here, who's like a cautious man, sees that it requires a lot of faith, this plan. It requires a lot of like belief that the orcs won't come here, and that he has not become Lord Commander of Gondor's armies by hoping. He's become that by being extremely careful and experienced and thorough. And so he looks at the plan with a sort of uncertainty.
What is your doubt?
Well, if they come here, Pelargir is in some ways a more important city than Minas Tirith. It is the center of all of our shipping, all of our trade, all of our naval might. It is how we stop them sailing up the Anduin and sailing beyond to the rest of Gondor.
The might of Gondor's navies are still greater than those of the Haradrim, are they not? If we sail with our people and our fleets to the island of Tol Falas in the Bay of Belfalas, then our ships will be able to stop the Haradrim, and it would be a long time until the forces of Sauron are able to amass a fleet, able to overcome the fleet of Gondor. Abandon Pelargir for now.
Yeah, you can see him calculating in his head. Definitely a capable man. You can tell he's sort of thinking about it and not sort of throwing the plan away. He's sort of thinking about it, and he'll eventually nod. Well, we can leave the watch captain here and the guard of Minas Tirith. They can protect it and the citizens and ensure that there is no trouble here while we are gone. It will
There
take.
will be trouble. There will be trouble. There are more orcs and more forces of Sauron that will. His might will be directed towards Isengard, but there will be more.
But a decisive strike, that is something that the men dearly wish. A chance for glory and victory. You must understand, Majesty, that they have spent months, years, in an endless war on Osgiliath for nothing, holding on to a ruin.
For good or ill, Captain, we can now see that the end is in sight. Have the men understand this. Have the men know that they must fight with every ounce, everything they can muster.
I will give the order. It will take 2 or 3 days before they can pull out and join us here.
Very good.
They should not join us here. They should march west across Lebanon and north past the White Mountains up to Isengard that way.
As you say.
Captain, much will be lost from Gondor in this plight. But what will be reborn from it shall make this sacrifice worthwhile.
I hope so, Majesty.
Send out messengers to muster every man who is able to carry a spear and a shield to march with us and join the forces of Gondor marching towards Isengard. And the rest, they should take what food they can to supply our armies. And those on their farms should make their way to the few defensible places, Dol Amroth and Minas Tirith, or up into the White Mountains themselves, or to the Isle of Tolfalas in the bay at the mouth of the Anduin. And those are the 4 places we will concentrate on defending our people. Our lands must be sacrificed to the enemy for the time being.
I'll see it done. And they'll sort of all assent, and with an assumed dismissal, they will go to set to those tasks.
They are troubled. Sorry.
Just leaving you and Beregond alone in the throne room.
They are troubled, Beregond, and with good reason. We ask much of them.
But at the same time, they have been fighting without hope, and we bring them hope. That is something. Let's try and turn this hope into. This hope is nothing if it is not turned into success.
We still have much to do. We must speak with the Dunlendings, though I am hesitant to leave immediately. Is there anything else that we need to see to while we're here?
The captains are competent and know what to do, but they're seeing one of the royal line of Anauriel and Elendil will turn will help turn some of the doubters give some of their doubters hope. It gave me hope.
Well, what I spoke of in this hall is true. It took me standing in this throne room once more for me to see that I've resisted taking this crown for myself when all along I was meant to take it for others, to help them, to defend them, this land. And I shall lead this fight if I can. I know not, Beregond, if I share the wisdom of Anauriel, but I do have his strength, and his blood is my blood. We shall see if that still holds true before the end of days.
And he listens out and hears horns sounding and musters, the muster horn sounding, and he says, "Let us ride. Let us find some horses in the stables and ride out, and let the troops see you, and show your face here, and then ride west to Dol Amroth, and then north in advance with some of the knights of the White City in an advance party. Maybe it's not a good idea to go with Gondorian knights to the Dunlendings."
No, I rather thought we should take a diversion in that matter, Beregond. I dare say that Gondor's arrival on Dunlending soil would be any more welcome than it were from Rohan or anyone else. However, I think it would be perhaps fitting if we were to ride not upon horse, but upon a great eagle, a motif shared throughout these halls. And perhaps we should wash, says Faroth with a smile.
You can equip yourself with anything that you wish that is mundane, any equipment that you could consider or conceive of, because you have access to everything in Gondor's armory, as well as like the relic room. I haven't got in mind exactly what's down there, but
no, that's okay. I think what Faroth would do is he would effectively give himself the trimmings of a King of Gondor. So, like Aragorn taking the braces from Boromir, almost like he starts getting like white tree patterns on there and things like that, and maybe he can wear some roby things around his armor. But effectively, he looks the same, just a bit more royal.
So, is your idea to go to get on the Eagle, fly to Osgiliath, and show the troops that you exist, and then go to Dunland, or what do you think?
To show the troops that are mustering to leave Osgiliath and also go forth, I think that was probably a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we see the four warriors from earlier who are standing in the houses of healing, and they are badly beleaguered and near death, and there's a great many of them separate to that, fighting as the sun is sort of slowly coming up. And then there's this and the eagle lands upon the houses of healing, and like many of the orcs do the like they can't believe what they're seeing, and there is the light that seems to shine over the back of you, and the troops see that the king has returned, and there is a cry that goes up, and we can hear the ba 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 da 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 of Gondor, somewhat more triumphant and less sad than earlier. Let's take our break there. So, on the back of the Lady of the South Wind, you fly across the White Mountains, and you can again see Rohan. Are you going to fly to Isengard or fly to Dunland?
I would have thought we'd go straight there. What do you reckon, Caius? To Dunland, I mean, straight to Dunland.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Caius, can't hear you.
Yeah, I think straight to Dunland too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's say, for the sake of everyone working out at the same time, we'll go to Fangorn, and this is all happening at different times. So we'll assume that you spend a few days in Gondor and whatever.
I'll just add detail that when I see, I'll be briefly reunited with my brother, and when I see him, I give him I give him the breaker of swords, Kirmegil, the cleaver of swords, that I took from Gundabad, one of my, and it's a ancient weapon which is useful against orcs, and he was always a better fighter than me, so he should take it.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to say. Is stunned, but will gratefully take it, and will ask, like, "Can you stay? We must catch up. It's been forever."
There is too much to tell in this short time. We will catch up. I will see you in Isengard, and if there's a chance to catch up, if after the battle we can still both speak, then there'll be plenty of time to catch up then.
Well, let's hope for that then.
But if you see my mother, he takes out the scissors of Aradil and hands them over. Give her these as a present from me, and tell her I've been thinking of her and I shall return.
I will.
But muster your folks and ride. We need you. We need all your allies in Isengard as soon as possible.
You have brought many great gifts to me, but the thing you've brought to Gondor is hope. And that's more valuable than anything. We will see you in Isengard.
Hope is a present that can turn bitter if it is not acted upon. Ride fast and keep your companions riding fast.
I will. You're running through Fangorn, Glindaer, with orcs behind you, and you can hear now in the distance the of like some entish speech. The orcs, seemingly unaware, chase you into the clearing, and like when you skid to a halt, they sort of like, "Ha ha, have you now?" and don't see that the trees are ents. And like he points his axe at you, and says something in black speech, "Dushnak, usnoof," and like begins to circle around you. And Quickbeam like looks down, and then like turns to one of the others, and begins to say the entish word for orc, and then shakes his head and just lifts up a leg and squishes him, and then picks up two of the others in his hands and like begins to squeeze them. Orcs. And the other ents are easily able to grab the others, and so they have them all in their hands.
These are the creatures, agents of the shadow. More lie at your doorstep, he gestures over towards Methadras. And more beyond still.
Where did they come from? And Leaflock like squeezes his hand and like squishes one of the orcs, and like throws his body away. Where? And there's this.
The bowels of Methadras. Is where they nest. They've been delving into Fangorn. They dwell upon the edges and creep ever deeper, bringing axes and fire.
Yeah, Beachbone like looks down and picks up the axe that the one had, and like looks at it. Like it's this tiny little thing. And they are fired up, or as fired up as you've ever seen them. They're speaking quickly, for them, and they're using your language to speak, which is 100 times quicker. And they're not doing as much breathing and as much humming as they speak. And they will like squelch the other orcs and leave one, and like place him upon a tree stump and begin to ask him questions. Treebeard will like squat down in front of him, and like point a finger into his chest. Have you hunted here? And the orc has seen like the destruction that has been done, and says, "Yeah." And then Treebeard like picks him up and throws him away. And they stand
Come
up.
to Isengard. Come to Isengard. If Sauron can be defeated, then the orcs can be wiped out. They can be driven from this place.
They are closer than we thought, Treebeard, says Beachbone, and Treebeard sort of nods extremely slowly, and then looks to the others. We will discuss this as quickly as we can. And he takes a deep breath as if like that saying something so quickly was difficult. And they will turn to face each other, and begin to speak. And Radagast looks at you and says, "That was very clever. It's very clever. Yes. Yeah. And they don't like orcs."
Indeed, their hatred for the orc is more ancient than our own, even.
Orcs only destroy, they don't create. I suppose they sort of innovate. But mostly they just destroy, and they burn, and they hack, and they chew, and they destroy, and that the ents don't like that.
Hopefully this has been enough, he says, sort of watching the ents as they discuss.
Yeah, you can see Quickbeam like sort of smash his fist into his hand as if he's like making a point, which is like the quickest thing you've seen them do ever. Apart from the fighting just now, which was like blurringly quick and truly frightening.
Radagast, we will meet you back at Isengard.
Yes. I think you've got them fired up.
Let us hope so.
I'll encourage them to speak quickly.
Yes, about this. Speak quickly about this.
Yes, about the war, yes. Yes.
Radagast. Glindaer puts a hand on Radagast's shoulder. See that they make it to Isengard.
Yes. I will.
Glindaer, I am unsure how much time has passed. Perhaps we are already late. But we are due to meet Faroth and Beregond.
I fear that we are. But that is no reason to tarry further. Let's make haste.
Anauriel will kick off one of the vines that is already grown across her boot and begin walking with Glindaer.
Yeah, as you move away, you can hear Radagast saying, I saw another orc up in this direction as well. Actually, I've seen quite a few of them. And he's just sort of trying to egg them on a little bit. As you move out of Fangorn and back towards the edge of the woods where you would have left your horses, you can begin to gallop across the plains of Rohan, past Isengard and into Dunland. And you'll see in the sky a massive eagle as you enter into Dunland. And you'll sort of course, with perfect timing, arrive at the same time. And you can see Dunland is scrub grass mostly, and fens and bushes. Occasionally there are little forests, but they're nothing like Fangorn or Mirkwood or anything like that. And you can tell just by being here that from the dull brown and green of the grass and of the land, that it's not particularly fertile, the land here. And it makes sense why the Dunlendings have it so hard. It looks green, but it's not particularly great for growing food in. You follow the Old South Road and can see the town of Tulum, which is close to Isengard, the biggest population centre in Dunland. And it's built into the side of a hill, these massive earthen ramparts that rise up towards stone walls of large stone blocks. It's nothing like Minas Tirith or the work of the men of Numenor, but it's still an impressive fortress, and you think it could hold out pretty well. And you'll arrive at the gates at the same time as you slow your horses. There'll be the of the eagle landing.
Glindaer, Anauriel, Faroth will step down from the great eagle and approach them, doing the thing they do, that thing where they grab each other's wrists, that greeting. Glad to see them, clearly.
Yeah, Anauriel will hold your arm an extra second and look into your face. Something has changed.
There has been a development. But come, we have much to do here.
You can enter the city, and it's pretty busy and bustling, and you can move through the levels. People are giving you odd looks because you are, resplendent with gold and relics, and you do not look like Dunlendings. Two of you are elves as well, who never come to this part of the world. And so quickly attention is drawn to you, and you'll be approached by a couple of guards. Well, you wouldn't even call them guards. They're just warriors who live here. And one of them will sort of step in front of you. Not super threateningly, more sort of what's happening? And he'll say, it's not often that we have visitors, unexpected guests here. Certainly none so regal.
I am Beregond, son of Beren. We are friends of Caird Wolf. Caird Wolf, the boar hunter.
Yeah, he looks behind him, and the others are like, "Oh, okay, that checks out." What is your business in Tulum?
This is our first time we have been here. Could you direct us to his home?
I could. Yes, I suppose there's no harm. And he'll sort of incline his head for you to follow, and he'll lead you through some of the streets, and you'll go through the lower level and then through like a gate into the second tier of the city. And here the houses are slightly bigger, and he'll bring you to this one. You wouldn't call it a hut. It's more like a longhouse or something. But it's wooden built. And this is where Cardon lives, or Cardwolf lives.
Cardwolf, he calls.
Yeah, there'd be like a moment of quiet, and then he'll like open the door and like look in confusion at like firstly the warriors and then also all of you. What is this?
Cardwolf, do you remember me? We met on Methedras, that is close to Isengard.
I do.
We were both plagued hard by orcs.
I owe you my life. I remember.
Now we need your help.
Yeah, he smiles with a, of course, that is the way of things.
But is it, maybe you are distrustful of people asking, of Dunedain and men of Gondor asking for your help. You've had little help from us in the past, and what agreements we've made. There have been, I don't know what agreements there have been in the past and how well they have been honoured, but you have my word that we intend to honour ours if we can talk with you and the leader of this city.
We know not to trust the straw hairs. They lie, and they break oaths. But of Dunedain and of men of Gondor, we have little contact. You have proven yourself before to at least be helpful, goodly. I'll take you to the Queen. And he'll give a look to the warrior like, I can do that, right? And the warrior sort of nods. And then he'll join you, and then you'll all sort of walk through the town into the third level, where there is like a very big longhouse. It actually makes you think of Edoras a little bit. It's not quite as grand, and there's none of the horse iconography, but even so, it's got a similar design and look. And maybe there's a moment of sadness as you realize that the Golden Hall no longer exists. It's been burnt, as you would have seen when you flew over. And you can walk in, and it's there are these long tables at which sit various warriors. And at the back of the room, upon this like large chair, a throne, you think, but not quite throne-like, sits this woman. She has this like pretty enormous and impressive crown. And she's like in conversation with someone at the moment, but then the second that the doors open and you walk in, her like eyes will like lock in your direction, and she'll gesture you to come forth.
Yes, I think Faroth certainly would. And he will stop at a respectful distance at the ascent to her throne, and he will say, "Hi, Chieftain." Oh, go ahead.
I'll just turn to Cardwolf and say, "Thank you, Cardwolf Boar Hunter, for bringing us here. My name is Beregond, son of Beren, and I introduce this is my king, Faroth, son of Fardred, and my proven companions, Anauriel and her brother, Glindaer, of the elven folk. And he gives a little bow.
Do you know I've never seen an elf, she says, and like scratches the side of her head. The stories are true, I think, actually. Surprisingly. They rarely are. But there's something about you that's interesting. Where are you king of, Faroth?
Faroth isn't used to this question, and indeed probably hasn't been asked this question before, and he can feel the eyes of the elves probably burning into the side of his head at this point. Of the kingdoms of Arnor, Gondor, and the world of men.
She like laughs, or tries to stifle the laugh, and there's like a look of some of the others here, like they can't quite believe that. It doesn't really make sense. And she says, "Really?"
It is true, and we come bearing not just stories.
You're the king of Gondor.
Recent king of Gondor, yes, High Chieftain.
There hasn't been a king of Gondor in hundreds of years.
And yet the line remains. I am living proof.
Ah, that's something.
As I said,
probably your warriors have mentioned that we arrived on the wings of an eagle, and as such we will have outflown any news from Gondor of this development. This is because we are in desperate need of speed.
There's war in Rohan. The straw hairs are suffering. And there's a grin on her face at that.
Lady, there is war everywhere.
Not in Dunland.
Indeed, not yet.
There are always orcs. There have always been orcs and will always be orcs. There's no war here. And Rohan's war is not the war of Dunland.
You must see that an enemy upon their borders, within their borders, are upon yours too.
And did they see in the same way when orcs ravaged our lands and salted our fields? Did they see that? The straw hairs? Did they see it when they took our land and never gave it back? When they made oaths that they would return it to us and never did? They never saw that, I don't think. And there's like a from like a bunch of the warriors who are sitting in the hall.
It is what we heard from your mighty people as we scaled Methadras, in a plight that will defend not just the people of Rohan and of Gondor and of all regions of Middle-earth, but here as well. We share the same goal: survival. But time is not on our side. As my companion mentioned, we flew upon the back of an eagle, so swift we intended to bring this news to your hall. Have you heard of the fate of the Golden Hall?
No.
Then it is my folly to share with you, but the Golden Hall burns.
She sits forward and puts like an elbow on her knee and her chin on her hand. Mediceld is burned.
Naught but ashes remain. But the spirit lives on, and that is why we are here. If we act now, and if you can help us, we can liberate what strength Rohan has remaining to help fight the great evil that is upon your doorstep. We are the heralds of Middle-earth, and we have traveled the length and breadth of it, bringing these tidings, and now we bring them to you. The quality of your future, and indeed all futures, rest upon your decision, High Chieftain.
You want Dunland to help you save Rohan.
I do.
You're a curious man, Faroth. I wonder if this is some attempt at japery, some sort of humor I don't understand.
My friends will attest that my sense of humor is sorely lacking.
Yes.
Regardless, what I speak of is true. And while you have suffered injury and slights and betrayals at the hand of Rohan, if we do not unite, all shall share the fate of Rohan's land. All shall burn like the Golden Hall.
There is no king in Dunland. We're not allowed to be a kingdom. The straw hairs have made that clear over the centuries. But you're the king of Gondor, and Rohan has fallen. And so maybe you can make oaths and keep them.
What lands were taken from you, High Chieftain?
In the Westfold. The Gap. These are lands that are ours ancestrally.
Faroth will take pause for a moment. That's a lot of land.
Yes, it's huge.
That's a huge portion of Rohan, and I think that Faroth will sort of like shift his gaze to look at his companions before saying, "We wished to make known our plight to you. If it is an oath that will bring you to our side, then you shall have one. The terms, however, we would have to speak quickly upon."
The return of the Westfold and the Gap of Rohan, which is the Gap of Dunland, to us, and myself made Queen of Dunland. And that my dynasty shall have that blood right forevermore. Those are the terms.
They have been heard, High Chieftain. If you would allow us but a small time for counsel.
Of course. And she gestures to one of the tables where you can sit. Now you'll be brought food and drink. You may stay as long as you wish.
My thanks. Once they're alone, Faroth is just going to stare at the others, sort of shaking his head.
The Dunlandings have been scorned, and scorned again over centuries. It is no surprise. These terms come as no surprise.
They have great pride and a long memory. But do they have the people to work such lands?
What we will be asking them will be difficult for even the best trained men to help recover what remains of Rohan through caves in the darkness. But they know these lands well. That cannot be underestimated. And oaths have power. If they are drawn to us, I have faith that they will play their part and play it well.
I do not doubt the strength of their arm or the courage in their hearts. I fear the retribution they hold. Cannot be simmered down. It will boil over before it dies away. I fear, no matter the prize, it may be difficult for them to ally with the people of Rohan. She spoke of their fight against the orcs. She knows as well as any that they have their own plight. And you spoke, Faroth, of the plight. You presented it as your own plight, that you have been traveling this Middle Earth to spread the word of, to herald the word. Why not make her see it is her plight that you bring word of? More immediate than she may realize. And what if the offering is not merely return of ancestral lands? What if the offering is an end to orc incursions for good? And he sort of looks around and leans in closer. Why not mention the ultimate goal? Need not speak of the work being done in Isengard. Too specifically.
There is merit to this, but you must understand we have seen much of this world. This news really to these people affects only where they live, only where they grow their crops, only where they raise their cattle. I think this wound runs deep indeed. I agree, it should be attempted, but I cannot promise them all of Rohan's land.
Indeed you cannot. Oaths have weight, and what have you already promised to the Queen of Rohan?
Nothing yet. Sorry, I should just say out of game. I don't know. I don't think we have we?
I think we promised aid.
We promised aid. We did promise aid, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we kind of left them.
The Faroth will look to Beregond. Old friend, he says, as ever. I trust your voice.
Rohan has suffered a great deal. But to give up so much, if they are victorious, would be hard.
Perhaps the promise is Perhaps the promise should be this. And it is true. It is a truth. The promise that victory means an end to orc incursions in Dunland. But only if we're victorious. And we can only be victorious if the High Chieftain brings her people to the cause.
They have. This is a mighty hall. This is an impressive hall, greater than I expected. Yeah, I imagine a lot of work has gone into building this city, building this place, building these halls and these homes, and farming this land. And will her people wish to leave Dunland as it is and abandon their homes of their fathers and their grandfathers and head out west, head out east into their ancestral lands, abandoning the work of generations and centuries? If we reckon this is the old region, these are the old stretches of Rudar, the kingdom of Rudar of old Arnor. Oh no, this is Cardolan. The southern stretches of Cardolan that was ever unpopulated. But if you are king of Arnor, I believe you could recognize her as the queen of Dunland and make this a permanent home, maybe from the Grey Flood down to the Misty Mountains, and with this southern border on the River Isen.
Yeah, you could give land in the other direction, so up from Dunland, because that's your land. It's not the land they want, because their land is in Rohan, but it would be something. So up from Dunland, which is in the bottom left corner, basically, like up in that direction is Arnor. So there is decent land there, like up the way up towards Rivendell. That sort of direction is technically Dunland. It's technically Arnor, because that's where you ended up sort of when you went to Anuminas, and that's all. Vague region if you go up from Dunland. And for a 14 history, you would know that this place was partially built by dwarves when they fled Smog a long time ago, and that the walls here are partially dwarven built, and that they were here and then they went to Gundabad when it was freed.
So Tulum becomes a recognized capital of lands that border into the north.
And we would, you, the king of Gondor and Arnor, would come and attend her coronation and see her crowned as queen. That has a title that has been denied to her, so she cannot sit at the high table of other kings and queens of the West.
Aye.
And perhaps the cap.
That would need the agreement of Saruman, and we do not know his plans. But we could offer to put in a word.
To have control of the gap means that one controls who can travel from one side of Middle Earth to the other. effectively. But there may not be a Middle Earth left if we do not accept terms with these people. The Westfold should be from the table, and I'm disinclined to offer them the gap either, unless there's something that you could say that has merit to that.
It is theirs.
And are these walls not dwarves? Belong to the dwarves who made them?
Were the dwarves forced from their home?
Faroth nods.
All of Middle Earth belonged to the elves if you go back far enough. Are the original...
But Dunland are descended from the men who lived here before the Númenóreans. So they're like the first men sort of culture.
But after the elves.
Yes.
I think we've stood in halls and we've had many debates and councils upon the rights of the different people that live here. But we have always stood beneath the banner of cooperation. Only through fellowship can victory be found. And if this is the price, then we must accept.
You have my support, King Faroth.
Beregond is looking over to see what the Queen is doing, or what the High Chieftain is doing at the moment, and if anyone is sort of in council with what the general atmosphere is towards us.
So she is speaking with two men, both of whom are like richly adorned in terms of armor and stuff like that. You think like, higher ups, generals maybe, or tribal leaders. And she's in consultation with them for sure. The attitude towards you is one of like, huh? What? Like,
okay.
Mostly confusion. Certainly from the people who are around you, like the normal warriors. It's
I
not
was looking out for a Grima worm tongue, basically.
Yeah. Yes. You don't see anyone like that. Yeah. You think maybe that there's like a buzz of enthusiasm or like a chance of something. There's like an excitement, I think. You would sense that.
Please forgive my ignorance here. Rohan is independent, right? It doesn't have to answer to Gondor.
No, it doesn't. I mean, currently Rohan almost doesn't exist.
Just generally, not like now, but sure.
So it was Gondor, and then there was a battle in which the Eored saved the king of Gondor, and then he gave them Rohan as gift for that. The Eored used to be up in the top right of Middle-earth somewhere.
And so perhaps they in turn should be rewarded for Rohan's salvation. Unless there's no other points to consider. Faroth will rise from where they are sat, and squaring his shoulders will approach once again.
The two big men will step aside on either side of her, and she'll look in your direction. Your Majesty.
We have spoken of the terms put forth to aid in the aid in the help to Rohan. Though I am not at liberty to give you what you ask. I cannot speak for the lands of Rohan, but I can for the kingdoms of Arnor. There is vast, bountiful lands that lie north of here. In return for your help in drawing whatever remaining strength Rohan has from Helm's Deep, we shall come to terms that you can settle these lands. Tulum will be made a capital from which you shall reign upon a throne in the name of a queen.
She raises her chin to the borders of Glindaer, to the west, which is an elven settlement. And then as far north as... And she thinks for a second.
Tharbad of old?
To the Grey Flood.
And the Gladwyn. The Grey Flood, and then its tributary, the Gladwyn, that comes out of the Misty Mountains, and then down the Misty Mountains. And your southern border would be the River Isen.
The land south of the Isen. What is there? Gondor, I think.
Gondor of old.
Nicer to have mountains as a border than a river, I think. And then we would be right next door. Queen and King. So she's asking to basically have her southern border be the White Mountains, and then as far north as the Glanduin, and as far west as Glindaer and the Grey Flood.
That's ginormous.
It's pretty greedy, yeah. Yep.
Faroth will shake his head. Though I do not wish to make an estimation of your people, you would struggle to cover that. You would be stretched too thin. And I hear and have seen for myself that you bear ferocity together.
Well, then we wish all the best to the people of Rohan.
You do not understand. If we do not come to terms this day, you will share the fate of Rohan.
You're asking me to risk my people for people who would risk nothing for us. And Dunland has been stepped upon for centuries. We are men. And we are treated as less than, because we do not have some heritage from across the sea. This is our land.
It shall not be your land, or indeed anyone's but Sauron's. If we do not come to terms, I beg you to reconsider. As I say, I cannot speak for Rohan. And what you ask, I cannot promise. And I would not have a promise broken to you again.
Then, instead of taking this land south of the Angren, Gondor will provide stone and masons for us to build a port at the mouth of the Angren and the Isen.
Faroth will shoot a look to Beregond, who's probably clutching the map to see if this is more reasonable.
So that would have been the southern border already, where the Isen is, and so
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
there's a natural sort of inlet there, like a bay. She wants to build a city there, basically, and is asking Gondor to provide the stone and like architects to help do that.
We can. I believe Gondor. If Gondor has a future, this would be a good way to invest in friendship in the future.
Indeed, all of the lands can prosper greatly from this cooperation. Though I must say that all of these terms do fall upon the back of an alliance between all of this land. An alliance between Gondor, Arnor, Rohan, and your people.
An end to the hostilities between us in the West.
For a brighter future.
She drums her fingers on the arm of her throne. But she's not quite a queen yet, it's definitely a throne. Drums her fingers on it. You will be present when we meet the House of Aered, the Straw Hairs, and you will see that they are polite.
Yes, all due proceedings and customs shall be acknowledged and honoured.
And I shall meet them as a queen.
When the battle is done.
Maglandu into the Grey Flood, bordering Londare, down to the Isen, and stone, masons, and supplies to construct a city there at the mouth of the Isen. In return, the might of Dunland will help save the Straw Hairs. And fight in whatever battle we need to fight in to save the world, I suppose.
This is an honour and an oath that I will hold. I swear it.
And I swear it too. And she'll rise and extend a hand to shake. And they'll be like this, wah! From like the lads in the long haul, because this is like a deal that has changed the lives of every Dunlending from here on out forever. And it's a really big deal. So there's joy. And like very quickly there's like music, and like drinks are being pressed into your hand, and you're like invited to stay for a feast and all of this. Because they don't get the urgency. They've, like, for her, she's just won the most important battle in Dunlending history.
Caught up in the sort of the uproar, the sheer primal tribal ferocity of their celebrations, Faroth has to fight back a smile before saying, "But now, to the liberation of the people of Rohan, we must set to it and act quickly. The enemy moves and never stops."
Aye.
You know the caves about Helm's Deep?
She turns her head. There are caves?
Oh, God. Yes, there are caves. Caves that I'm sure that I'm sure we can locate and help extract the power of Rohan from.
As you say. Wiglaf, and she like calls one of the others over, one of the big warriors, and speaks to him in Dunlending, and he like nods a couple of times, and he'll shout something in Dunlending, and like a bunch of the warriors will kind of like groan, and then stand, and begin to go outside to begin mustering. It seems like they're getting right to it. I will send word to the other settlements in Dunland. They will come if I call.
Then call, for all shall be needed.
Okay, so we're at a point now where this is where we would go and save Rohan, but it's quite late already.
Sure.
I'd hoped to do it tonight, but I think maybe I want to give it the importance that it needs, so I think we might end it there, rather than rush through it. And we'll have one extra session saving Rohan. Okay, cool. So we'll call it there, I think. So thank you for watching, and